I'm sorry, I'm getting more and more convinced every day that there is no way that you could put all of these things together in a way where, you were trying to build up America. What's happening is this administration is dismantling America in every way, shape, and form. So let me give you just a couple of highlights. We were just talking about the Endless Frontier Act. The Endless Frontier Act cannot pass. The Endless Frontier Act is a way for the government to start to take all innovation in under its purview. So it is a directorate, which I think, Stu, directorates, isn't that right, directly from the Soviet Union? It's a directorate now that directs all of our innovation because China's so fast. This is the argument that Mussolini, Stalin, and Hitler made, that the American continent could not compete because they could direct all of the resources quickly, where the United States of America had to do it through the free market. And by the time you'd convince them, it'd be over. That's what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, history is littered with countries that said that they could defeat the free market with centralized control. It's
and centralized control ends exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly the same every single time. Look at Venezuela. They were going to fix that country. I'm telling you, we are going to end as Venezuela if we don't begin to stand up and demand that our voices be heard. Now, so we were talking about the Endless Frontier. I want to show you a pattern here. What have they done to businesses? They have closed all of our businesses, and they have hurt the small business. Notice the big businesses don't have a problem. They were allowed to stay open. But if you were a small business, you were forced to close. No special exemption for you. So all of the big corporations, which are all going to be playing ball with the ESG from the Economic Forum, they're all playing ball. They're all in with the government. And they don't seem to be struggling, but you are. All right. What's happening with food? The farmer is struggling. The farmer isn't making it, but the big, huge food processing plants and the food processors of America, 4 of them when it comes to meat, they're all making money hand over fist. Now there's a pattern. Okay, so let's go back to the American Frontier Act. American Frontier Act is a solution for Joe Biden's question during his State of the Union address, where he said, we're going to have to see, can America compete in this century? Can our free markets, can our democracy compete against China and Russia? Well, he's already answered that question. That's why there's the Endless Frontier Act. Notice that they also, under Barack Obama, put a new layer of bureaucracy into the patent office. The United States patent has always been, it is one of the greatest reasons why we have succeeded in a nation. Now, one of the guys who was instrumental with the patent is Benjamin Franklin, but he didn't patent any of his stuff. He felt that everyone should have a right to it. He didn't need the money, et cetera, et cetera. He just wanted to change the world. Great. That's a little like Elon Musk, where he made a lot of his technology open and patent-free. That's great. You can make that as an individual. But under Obama, he started a new administrative body in the patent office. And this administrative body was to help the small inventor. So if you invented something, but then big bad Google or Facebook came out and they said, hey, we're doing this, and they just start using it, but you had the patent on that technology, you could fight them in court. And it would take, millions of dollars to fight against Google. Most small-time people don't have the money. Well, maybe they're black, Stu. Joe Biden said yesterday, you know, if you're black, you don't have accountants and you don't have attorneys. So maybe those people are only black. Well, so we understand why black inventors, if there were such a thing, Joe Biden, don't sue. But everybody else, they may have access, but they don't have the money to fight against these big businesses. Even if you win in court, it still has to go back to the patent office. And these administrators look at it and, wow, they have found some real injustices being done. They have found that 80% of the patents claimed, you know, by the people, by the small people, 80% of those people were wrong. It actually belonged to the big corporate industry. So they're cutting the legs off of now our inventors, the small inventor who has his own little workshop. By the way, everything that was in that Endless Frontier Act is exactly, almost word for word, what Eisenhower spoke about and warned us against. It wasn't just the military-industrial complex. It was the scientific and educational industrial complex. That when government started funding research, there would be trouble. Well, here we are, gang. Are we awake enough? So that's what was started. That little administrative body was started under Barack Obama. What has Joe Biden done? Oh, Joe Biden now is just openly saying we're going to take your patents. If it's for something important, we just have a right to take them. What does that do? What does that do to the companies that invent things, that spend millions and millions and millions of dollars just to try to come up with something if the government can take it if it's important? It kills that. Now, what else is happening? Well, they're killing private intellectual property rights. But if you go to the White House and you search for Biden-Harris administration outlines America the Beautiful initiative, you will also find that they are now going to preserve, conserve, and restore the lands, the waters, and the wildlife that support and sustain the nation. The recommendations are contained in a new report released outlining a locally led and voluntary nationwide conservation goal to conserve 30% of U.S. lands and waters by 2030, and to conserve 50% of U.S. lands and waters by 2050. Oh, that's fantastic. So the report submitted to the National Climate Task Force was developed by the U.S. Department of the Interior, Agriculture, Commerce, and the White House Council on Environmental Quality. But it's a very local kind of program. I want you to remember that. Remember, this is voluntary and very, very local. Even though it came from the National Climate Task Force, the U.S. Department of Interior, Agriculture, and Commerce, and the White House Council on Environmental Quality. Don't forget, it all depends on you. Now, it outlines 8 principles that should guide the nationwide effort, including a pursuit of collaborative approaches, a commitment to supporting the voluntary conservation efforts of farmers, ranchers, and fishers, and the honoring of tribal sovereignty and private property rights. Now, how do you take 30% of the property of America and make it federal property? How do you do that? And keep in mind all the property rights, the private property rights. Well, it's all going to be local support. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be, people that just want to protect the lands and the waters, and to boost the economy and support jobs nationwide. That's because they're going to create more parks and more safe outdoor opportunities in nature-deprived communities. Boy, if I've seen one nature-deprived community, I've seen them all. They're going to support tribally led conservation and restoration priorities. They're going to expand collaborative conservation of fish and wildlife habitats and corridors. So, there might have to be some voluntary action with the fishermen saying, I'm not going to fish these rivers anymore. But those will be done voluntarily because people will just love it. They'll eat less fish. They'll eat less meat because it's just the right thing to do. They're also going to incentivize and reward the voluntary conservation efforts of fishers and ranchers and farmers and forest owners. It's really going to be great. And then they create jobs by investing in restoration and resilience projects and initiatives, including the Civilian Climate Corps. Oh, that's going to be great. You know what? We should take the Climate Corps, and if we could get young people involved in it, we could get them to dress up in little uniforms and give salutes and stuff, and we could call them like the Biden youth, because he loves youth. And it could be all voluntary. And if your family doesn't want to volunteer, maybe your Biden youth could, just say, hey, I've got a problem in my family. Mom and dad don't want to volunteer. And then the government can maybe take them away, for their own safety, because it's getting dangerous out here. That's why they're trying to create a safe nature atmosphere. How are they going to do that? Because the only thing I'm afraid of in nature are bears and mountain lions. If I want a safe experience, well, then I should probably just go to a park, not a national park, not one where those big bad bears live. Those should be off limits entirely because, hey, we can't disturb nature. And they're very, very dangerous. And not everybody can go. It'll be inequitable because there's a lot of people who don't have access to the outdoors. Kids in bubbles and things like that. Look what they're doing. Look what they're doing. Destroying your property rights almost every step of the way. They are destroying your business. Well, because we have to. We have to. We just have to. It's COVID. Gosh darn it, I didn't want to do that. And who would have seen coming that it was the big corporations that, actually succeeded through this and didn't have a problem, and it's the small guy. This is the beginning of the Great Reset. That is what's happening right now. And Americans need to understand that and start to begin to gather together and like-minded people need to stand up and peacefully say, we're not going any further. You know what is right. You know what the country was founded on. It's time we all stand up together and say, no more. No more.